Hello, my two Nanowrimo channel. I'm James Joe. Today, I want to quickly start the Abby Hernandez series. I'm reading them. It's a companion romance series, and I thought it would be kind of fun to do something like this instead of a traditional series or the series wrap-up videos that we're doing. I don't remember what the series is called though. Oh, I think it's just called, I thought I had a different title than just The Friend Zone, but it's called The Friend Zone, I guess. And there's The Friend Zone, The Happy Ever After playlist, and Life Too Short. There's 3 books taken out over the course of a few years, 3 years, and I'm like 14% into the first one. I like it. I don't love it, but I'm curious to see. Everybody recommends Abby Hernandez. This is where I was told to start, so I figured I would go ahead and vlog that experience for you. Once I know a little bit more about the plot, I will let you know as we progress. Alright, I'm gonna quickly come in here and close out Friend Zone. I don't know if I've done this yet or not, so we're gonna do it right now. Essentially, Friend Zone, it ends on some interesting notes. And this whole book is about infertility, very graphically about infertility, which is in a good way. It's a very prominent story. And Abby Hernandez in the author's note said that it's based on her best friend and her life and a lot of her stories, and so it's even very accurate to what it's going in this experience between these two people. However, these two people annoy the fuck out of me for the majority of this novel. The main character, I understood where she was coming from, but I also understood because a dual POV novel, you automatically know the actions of the next thing. So I feel like in a way, this book would have probably been better without male POV. I know some people are not going to say that because he makes some really interesting, bold choices that look to be, I'm trying to think what the right word here is, annoying. Bold choices that I don't think you would commend. You would be like, why are you doing this? What's the point of that? And I understand that, and I get that. However, knowing that he is full force wanting to have kids with her, even if she can't have biological kids, and he's full force in love with her, and all these other things, it takes away from the miscommunication. If we're just reading from Kirsten's point of view, we can get the fact that she doesn't want to say anything because of XYZ results. You don't know what he's thinking, and so he has said multiple times he thinks adoption is stupid. He wants like someone who can give birth to a child. This is like a very important thing to him, and he said it very clearly, very early on. And so it builds the drama, but when you know from the other perspective that drama is really nothing, it just annoys you for 300 pages. And then they do something that I don't mind, but a lot of people do mind, and that is they kill off the best friend. I think there's ways to do this, and I don't personally think the plot twisty way, which is what this book handles as, is the way to go. I also don't love, I feel like it should have been a clean break and not like a, oh, he might survive kind of break. This is not her best friend, Salone. Salone gets her own book in the future. The second book is her book, so we'll talk about her then. But her husband, or her soon-to-be husband, does end up dying. That being said, they jump into a relationship relatively soon afterwards. Very the conflict of essentially this person died, so they become closer and they can like result in telling each other more things, more personal things. They get married and they end up realizing they are pregnant and they have a kid, and the epilogue is like 2 years later with the kid. I do have to wonder if the epilogue, if we're gonna see her pregnant in the second book, or if it's gonna be after the kid's born and she's not gonna be really there because she's now a mom. I'm really curious to see. I also don't know what Salon's about. I know it has to do with dogs, but that's about it. I landed on 3.25 for all the reasons I just told you. Okay. I was very annoyed throughout most of it, but I am intrigued by the sequel. I was gonna pick it up immediately. I can't now, but it was gonna be like an instant pickup, so it's got that going for it. I'll let you when I start the next one, we can talk about it in depth as well. This is the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Hernandez. I read the whole thing yesterday. With the Happy Ever After playlist, I had some interesting thoughts about it. I really liked it much better than the first one. This one follows Salone. Salone, in the last book, her husband was brutally murdered. He died in a very brutal car accident, motorcycle accident, and so murdered, I don't know what the right thing, manslaughter kind of, because it was done by somebody else. Never really talked about though, and the extent of like that. He ended up dying, and this is 2 years after the fact that he died, and she is a shell of the person she used to be, and she's driving down the street to go to his grave to have a moment. I can't remember, there's an anniversary that's going on. A dog ends up jumping into her car, and this dog owns to Jason, who is the lead singer of a band that she is like obsessed with that she doesn't know, and they end up starting a romance together. It's a really slow burn romance up until like 50%, which seems to be pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate for the last book too. And then we jump into full force romance. However, the only thing that I did not like about this one, I don't really have a lot to say like story wise, I feel like Stallone was a pretty good character. I felt like Jason was also a pretty good character. I think, in my opinion, some of their lines of dialogue did not make sense from the other person's point of view. This was an issue I had with the first book, so I don't know if that's just an Abby Mendez problem. I don't really know. We'll see if it carries over into the final book in this trilogy. Connected standalones. Does this work as a series overview? I don't know. We're trying something different. I guess, because like Kristen also felt so vastly different from the character that I knew. So I was a little shocked by a lot of different things that she talked about, a lot of different things that came out of her mouth. It just felt so not like the character that was so fleshed out in the first novel. She's much happier and she's enjoying life, so maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But there's parts of it that just doesn't make a lot of sense. She almost became a Sloane character type from the first novel into this novel, which is really interesting to me. I didn't really think about it that way, but it's very true to the nature. So he's a rock star, so a part of this novel is him going on tour, a part of this novel is dealing with fans, a part of this novel is dealing with a crazy ex, who obviously doesn't end up becoming crazy. Her name is Lola, but also Natalie or something out of those lines. I can't remember. Something like that I think is her real name. She ends up just being, the music industry just like really destroyed her. He's in a really long binding contract that ends up hurting out. I don't like how they represent to the music industry. I'm not saying that objectively some of these things wouldn't happen. That a girlfriend could be very bad for the reputation of your lead singer. But I don't necessarily know that they would do. It just felt very extreme. The third act felt very high stakes for no reason, and there is a subtle cheating plot line, and I was kind of pissed about it. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? I don't really think this is necessary because it didn't make a lot of sense. And that's also the other thing. Stallone had some character choices that did not make a lot of sense. They've really conflicted, in my opinion, with the character that we were building and the character that we received. That also was a bit of an issue. The flash forward for the epilogue was a little late. It was a little too confusing for me. The timeline didn't make a lot of sense for the progress that was made. She has sold like 4 paintings by this point, and maybe I misread it. Maybe it was like 2 or 3 years later, but I read it as like 3 months later, 4 months. That's impossible because it has to be at least 9 months. Maybe it is like 2 or 3 years, and I just heard the wrong thing when I was reading, or read the wrong thing, because like it didn't logically make sense that she's like done 5 hyper-realistic paintings in the span of time it took her to make 1 hyper-realistic painting. And it's pretty well established, the book. That's how long it takes her. That, my friend, is the Happily Ever After playlist. I really liked it. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. And based on the reviews I read, this is sad. I was told this is the best one, that this is the peak. But also, I read the author's note. The author's note didn't give me anything. Essentially, the idea of someone losing somebody close to her was based on a true person, just like the first one was. And so the loss and what that does and how that handles was very accurate, which I don't know, I've never been through that experience, but it felt pretty like accurate. In the Goodreads note, it stated that this is the book that she wrote first, and this is the book that she got published on. So this is the book that they went to auction with. Whoever got it, I don't know, the publisher who got this, wanted, like, she was like, oh, I have this idea for this prequel for this character in here. I do that one, and then they're like, well, since you for this, we should do that one first. And so him dying was always a plan. And that note sheet there basically says, anybody who criticized me, not really, but basically says, anybody who criticizes me for killing off a character, bringing 2 characters together, was never the plan. They were always going to end up together. This was just something that happened in their lives. I don't know. I feel like if you changed characters and how they would react and how they would do things. Like Stallone as a character, I understood all the changes because she went through a very traumatic and horrible thing. And Kristen is a lot happier, so like you could fight or argue with me on that. I just feel like you should update your book to relate back to what it was before. So yeah, also it made the first book feel very afternote-y, which was an interesting feeling. The third book is like, I think the main character is like a Vanessa or something. And they're connected. I'm not entirely sure how they're connected. Yeah, Vanessa Price. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. It's on hold, so it's gonna be a minute before I read it, but I'll come in here and update you when I do. The takeaway so far, though, not a bad author. I will probably end up reading her next series as well, which is the Part of Your World series, which has been recommended to me a long time, and I was really going to start here, but they told me to start where I started, so that's what I did. But I'll read those 3, and she has a new one coming out, so yeah. Do let me know. I guess I can ask that now because I gotta get off because they're doing stuff outside. Let me know if you want me to cover that series like I covered this series like this in the comments. All right, thank you for watching. Bye. About the ending of Friend Zone, I did read the third book. Give me a second. I thought I filmed this when I read this. This was so many books ago. I'm really, really sorry. It was not intentional. So it's called Life's Too Short by Abby Mendez. This one follows Vanessa, and I want to say his name is Jason, but I always want to say their names are Jason. Adrian. Adrian's the love interest here. So Vanessa and Adrian are roommates, and the book starts with Vanessa, Adrian's girlfriend, complaining about the noise of the next door neighbor. Her baby is like extremely crying and stuff, and like he's trying to figure out why. And so he knocks on the door and he asks, "Hey, what's up? Why'd your baby cry?" And she's like, "You think I got any fucking control over that?" He's like, "Let me come in, let me see if I can help, whatever. I'm like a baby whisperer." And she said, "Shit, whatever. You know, like I've been dealing with this for a while now. So yeah, come on in. You can see." And he figured out the problem with the baby. Baby went to sleep. He went home, whatever. Wakes up the next day and realizes that his girlfriend is essentially horrible and has been cheating on him, and she's just horrible, and so they end up breaking up. They start a really close bond in friendship. This book has a lot to do with body estrangement as well. It's very graphic in that way, so like if you're not willing to read that, I can understand why this doesn't work for you. This book really worked for me though. I really liked Vanessa as a character. I like Vanessa's vlogs that she does for her YouTube channel. I feel like that was done pretty realistically, which I was really shocked by. I also really enjoy Vanessa's home life. I know a lot of people didn't. I did. I also think this is probably my favorite reason why they can't be together. Whole reason why it's called Life Too Short is Vanessa's mom, grandmother, sister. Whole reason why it's called Life Too Short is Vanessa's mom, grandmother, sister have all died, and normally it's diagnosed. Normally she believes that she has it and that she is going to die within the year. The baby is her sister's, her younger sister. She's 19. She's a drug addict, and she has custody of her. Fine, we see her really early on in this book, and she ends up becoming not a problem, but we end up exploring that relationship very thoroughly throughout the rest of the novel as well, which I think is done very well to the point where she doesn't get custody of her or anything of those lines. She does survive. They actually end up having custody of the child, Grace, at the very end of the book. So they end up breaking up because of that reason. They're both, once again, made this a tremendous thing, in love from minute one. Both like each other from minute one. Really, really like each other. Really want to spend the rest of their lives together. I'm trying to think what else. Like I said, it's been a minute since I've read this. I'm so sorry. This was not my intention. I love this book. This is my favorite one out of this series. This is what my decision was to read the next series by Abby Mendez, so you'll see that eventually, because I was like, if this is this good, who knows what the other series could be part of my world. I was like, I'm gonna find out, because this is like fucking amazing. Like the Friend Zone, I didn't really care for, as we talked about. Like it was fine, like nothing great. The second one was good, like really good. I like a good rock star romance, and they like to do a good job. This one, it just felt so real. Like it was very realistic, very organic. I liked both POVs. See, the issue here is that normally in one of the POVs, I end up not liking one of the characters. Or I don't think one of the characters did a good enough job. The male voice is too strong, the female voice is too weak, whatever it might be from their opposites. POVs. I like their voices in their own POVs, but when like the female voice is coming in and talking through a male centric, like an Adrian chapter, and Vanessa is there, I always find that there's an offbeat where Vanessa is saying things that she would normally not say. Like it feels very out of character on her dialogue. And this was the first book where I felt like everything was pretty in character. Why is it a 4.5 and out of 5, you might ask? It's because they survive. This whole book is about her dying, and I feel, and I've talked about this before, I feel like, sure, you need a happy ever after, but I think in a way the ending would have been a happy ever after if she didn't survive. I'm really mixed on it. A lot of people are really mixed on it, which seems to be the case for this series, so that's where I stand. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, please leave a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. I'll tell you next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.